So I'm gonna show you how I build apps that makes thousands of dollars every single month. Now back in the day, usually if you want to build an app, you would have to first spend a few months learning a programming language, then spend another few months building the MVP. But now with the rise of AI, especially with the recent AI agents that's been released, you can now do all of that in just a few days. And depending on how simple the app is, you can do it in just a few hours, which is actually kind of crazy. Now the two main AI agents that's out there is Codex and Anti-Gravity. And both of these have a free tier, which means that you can get started with literally $0, no money up front. Now with Codex, it's from OpenAI, so they use ChatGPT, which is actually very good. I've been using it for about a week now, and the results are extremely good. Like so far, I've only had like 2 errors where I asked it to write a code, and I mean the code it did work, like it did compile, but there was like a few bugs here and there in it. But even then, I was able to tell it that hey, there's a bug in the code, fix it, and it was able to go back, look over the code and fix it perfectly fine. So it's at the point right now where AI, like 99% of the time, the code that it produces, it actually works and it's actually good. Like it's not like back in the day when AI kind of sucks and like 50% of the time the code is just complete garbage. Like that's not the case at all. Like the AI agent that we have now, it's actually very good. Now the second option is Anti-Gravity. Now Anti-Gravity, it gives you access to Gemini Pro and Cloud Opus, which is really cool, and they also have a free tier that's very usable. Now one thing I will mention is that recently Cloud released Opus 4.6, which I mean Opus 4.6 is actually very good, but the one issue is that it uses a lot of tokens. I believe it uses 6 times more tokens than 4.5. Now the issue with this is that it basically extremely limits Opus on the free tier, because previously with 4.5 you could use it a decent amount on the free tier, like you could get a decent amount of usage, no problem. But because 4.6 uses so much token, it's at the point right now where you send like 5 prompts and then you're out of usage for the rest of the week, which is extremely annoying. And to make things worse, Google removed 4.5, so you can't use it to the older model to get more usage. You're basically forced to use 4.6, which again, it's extremely good, but it's just extremely limited. You send like 5 prompts and you run out of quotas for the week. But aside from that, Anti-Gravity is still very good because you can use Gemini 3 Pro, it does have a decent amount of quotas, like it's very much usable, and the quality is very good too. Now it's not as good as 4.6, but again, it's very good and very much usable. And it's still right up there with Codex and Opus 4.6, so it's still a very good option. Now let's talk about the language that we're going to be using. Now typically most people use like React Native, but honestly, the only time I'd recommend you use React Native if it's one, there's a JavaScript library that you absolutely need, like there's no alternative, like you really need that library. Or 2, if you actually hate yourself, like seriously, React Native is genuinely just rage bait. Like it's horrible. Like you lose brain cells trying to use React Native. Like trust me, I've tried it and I've lost several brain cells trying to learn it. Like for example, the last time I used React Native, I tried to create an APK and it took me like around 4 to 5 hours. And the reason is that when I tried to create the APK, I got like an error saying that there was some kind of mismatch dependency. And the thing is, every time I fixed the issue, another one popped up. So I fixed one issue, then another one popped up. And that kept on happening for like 3 hours. I tried to fix it. And then when I finally fixed the issue, it took like another hour to create the APK because I was using Expo. And the thing with Expo is that if you try to create an app during the peak hours, it's going to take a long time. So it took like an hour just to create the APK. And then when I tried to install the app, I still ran into more errors and so on. And that is just the process to install the APK. Like I'm not even talking about the actual writing the code experience. Like overall, React Native is just genuinely rage bait and I absolutely hate it. And I would not recommend anyone use it. And I have no idea why people still use that thing. But recently I've been using Flutter and so far the experience has been amazing. Like the best way to sum it up is that everything just works. Like even to create an APK, like the first time I created a Flutter APK, it took me like 2 minutes, and now I can do it in like 30 seconds. Like you can create the APK and install it in like 30 seconds. Like that's so easy it is. Like everything just works. And in the rare occasions, like I'm not saying you won't run into errors, but the thing is, first of all, I rarely run into errors. Unlike React Native, we run into errors like literally every time. Like every time I write a code, I run a command or something, is always an error. And with Flutter, like 99% of the time, it just works. And even when I do run into errors, like it usually takes like 20 to 30 minutes to fix it. Like that's it. Like I'm not sitting here for like 3 hours trying to fix an issue and then another issue pops up. Like it just simply works. And today I'm going to show you exactly how easy it is to build with Flutter. But yeah, if you're just starting out and you're wondering like what should you use, I personally would recommend Flutter because again, I've been using it. It's really great. Just amazing so far. Now, for this video, I'm going to be building a chatbot. A very simple chatbot, nothing too crazy. But just to give you an idea of, how easy this stuff is and how quick it is, I'm going to be building a chatbot for Android. But with Flutter, you can build for any platform. So you can do, websites, you can do iOS, Android, you can even build apps for PC. So you can do anything, but right now I only build for Android, so that's what I'm going to be showing you today. Now, as for the AI that I'm going to be using, I'm going to be using anti-gravity with Gemini 3 Pro, which again is very good and very usable. And so first you can start by just going to Google and type in Google anti-gravity and just clicking download and installing the the applications, which is very straightforward. And you just gotta log into your Google account and that's it. Again, very straightforward. Now after that, you want to create a Flutter project. You do need to install Flutter, which you can go to Flutter. Just go to Google and type in Flutter and come to your website and download it. Now there's a bunch of other videos explaining the entire process of installing it. I'm not going to go over that today because, I don't want to make this too long. But, if you want like instructions or anything, then let me know and I'll make like a follow-up video explaining the entire process of installing Flutter and so on. But again, there's already a bunch of other videos explaining how to do that stuff. But, the process is very simple. You just download Flutter and that's it. But anyways, let's create a project. Now to show you how easy this is, I'm gonna create a project by going through the documentation. So you can just go to Google and type create Flutter project, and then you want to click on this link right here, and then you want to scroll down, and this is the command right here. And look how easy this is. Like with React Native, to this day I still have no idea what's going on with the React Native documentation. Like I try to read that thing and understand it and it feels like I'm reading French, like nothing makes sense. But with Flutter, even the documentation is extremely simple and it just simply works, like everything just makes sense. But anyways, you want to copy this command right here. Let's paste it right here. Now this part right here, this is the name of your app. In our case, since we're building a chatbot, we're going to be calling it chatbot. But of course, you can name it whatever you want. So now you want to copy this command and paste it in your terminal to create a new project. So just go to your terminal and navigate to your folder and just type the command. And just like that, it's done. A new project has been created. Now if this was React Native, you would have to run a bunch of commands, which 99% of the time there's going to be some kind of error that you have to fix. But again, with Flutter, you just type one command and that's it. You're done. Project is already created. Just like that. Now before we start using the AI, there's one thing I'm going to do, which is I'm going to set up the app. No, you don't have to do this, it's completely optional, but I like to set up my app a certain way. So the way I do it is that I like to create a second folder where I store all my pages. So I'm going to call this pages. Now the first page I'm going to create is the home page. And you do that Dart because I'm using the Dart programming language. Now the setup that I usually use is that in my main file. This is where I store like my theme and my fonts and stuff like that. So all the colors and all of that stuff goes into the main file. And then I use a separate file for the home page. And like all my pages will go into this file. Now one interesting thing about Flutter is that technically you can store every single screen in one single file if you want. That's technically possible, but of course you don't want to do that because then, having separate files usually keep things more organized. But if for whatever reason you want to put everything into one file, that's technically possible, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now at this point, we want to set up our home page. So you want to go right here where it says home. And you want to add the home function. So it'll be like home page. And then you want to import the home page file. As you can see, it auto-completes for you. And just like that, we are done. Now it's going to get an error because you haven't implemented the home page yet. Now, if you want, you can implement the home page on your own, but for this example, I'm going to let the AI do all the work. So yeah, the only thing that you need to do, but again, this is optional, you don't have to do this, but you just need to add the function and then create the home page, and that's literally it. And even with this, you can ask AI to do it because the AI can actually create files and so on. So if you want to be extremely lazy, you can just literally ask the AI to do everything for you. But I like to do this step on my own. But now we're going to start using the AI, and again we're going to be using Gemini 3 Pro. Okay, so I just finished writing my prompt, and I usually leave it on planning mode. They do have like a fast mode, but planning mode is just better because you get better results and so on when you let the AI actually plan and think first. So I just entered my prompt and I'm gonna send this off and let the AI do its thinking. Now one thing I forget is that you want to point it to your file. So you can do at, and then you want to select files, and then you want to point it to your file so you can know like what directory it should write the code in. Because if you don't give it like any file or anything, then it's gonna create its own directory and own projects and everything. So we already created the project, so it doesn't need to do with that. So you just want to give it the file. Now in my experience, it doesn't really matter what file you give it. Like for example, if you say I want you to do something in the home file, but you give it the main file, the AI will basically scan the entire directory and realize that okay, it gave me the main file, but the work needs to be done in the home file, so it automatically go to the home file. So you don't have to be like picky and be like, oh, which file should I give it or not? Like you can give it any file in the directory, and it will scan the entire directory and find the correct files and write the code. But yeah, I'm gonna send this off. Now one thing I do like about Flutter is how easy it is to create dark mode. So in React Native, to this day I still have no idea how to implement dark mode. But in Flutter it's very easy. Like all you have to do is, I don't remember the exact code right now, but yeah, it's like right here. You can put like theme light and you add the color for light mode, and then theme dark and you add the color for dark mode. And that's literally it. That's all you have to do, and have auto dark mode in your app. Now in this case I asked AI to implement it for me, so you don't have to worry about that. But again, if you want to do this on your own, extremely easy. Okay, now another thing I want to show you is that there's actually another AI called Gemini Code Assist. Now this one is basically an extension that you can download, and it gives you access to Gemini 2.5 Pro. Now even though it's an older model, it's actually very good. Now it's not as good as like Codex or Gemini 3, but it's still very usable. I've used it and I've gotten good results for the most part. However, there were like here and there where it wrote some code that just didn't work and like there were errors and so on. But even in those cases, I was able to tell it to fix the code, and it worked for the most part. It's not the best out there or anything, but it's definitely usable, and that's something I figured I'd mention just so you have it. But yeah, I'm just gonna let this finish doing its thing. Right now it's thinking and it's generating a plan, so yeah. Okay, so it's done making a plan, and this is the plan right here. Now typically you want to read through this and make sure that everything is good, because sometimes it may get some stuff wrong, and this is where you gotta like, if you want to get like good outputs, you have to give the AI as much information as possible, because if you leave things and make it vague, then AI will have to make up its own stuff, and then sometimes the stuff that it makes up is not something that you want. So basically just make sure you do the implementation plan and make sure that everything is exactly how you want it. If you have an issue with anything, you can just click this right here and just basically let you know that hey, I don't want this and this is what you should do and so on. But if everything is good, then you can just click proceed and send it off, and the AI will start writing the code. Okay, so it's finally done. Now as for the actual code, like this is it right here, and this is the code that it wrote. Now what's interesting is that it only created like one file. Like typically I've built a few apps so far using this, and typically there will be like multiple files, like an API service, like a chatbot interface and stuff like that. But for this one it only gave me like one single file, which is interesting. Like I'm curious to see like what exactly it did. I haven't taken a look at like the actual app yet. I'm gonna do that in just a minute. But yeah, this is the code right here, only like 200 lines. So yeah, I'm really curious to see like what exactly it did. Yeah, I'm gonna start this up on an emulator and let's see. Now one small error that I see so far is the AI model. Now I told it that I wanted to use Gemini 3 Flash, but for whatever reason it gave me Gemini 1.5, which I'm not even sure if this model is still working, because when Gemini 3 came out, Google has been basically removing a bunch of the older models like 2.2 and so on. So I'm not even sure if 1.5 is even working, but either way, I asked it for 3 Flash and it gave me 1.5. So that's one small error so far. So yeah, let's see if there's any more errors or anything, but I'm gonna change this to 3.5 and see. Now another thing is that earlier I was saying that implementing dark mode is extremely easy, and this is the code right here. You just added the theme. This is the light one, this is the dark one, and then do theme mode, theme system, and that's literally it. That's all you have to do to create a auto dark mode, auto light mode. But yeah, as I said, the AI did this on its own, so you can just be lazy and ask AI to do it for you, or you can do it for yourself. But either ways, as I said, it's just extremely easy compared to React Native. Like again, to this day I still have no idea how to implement dark mode in React Native, but with Flutter, extremely easy. Okay, so I've started the emulator and let's see what this looks like. And yeah, this is it. It's a very simple chatbot. I didn't give it that many instructions. I only told it to build a chatbot similar to Gemini. So this is the results. Now, of course, if you want better results, then you'd have to give it like more options. Like, like you'd ask it to implement like the side tab and image generation and so on. I only told it to build a chatbot, and so that's what it did. Very simple. And now let's see the auto dark mode. And as you can see, the theme just switched to light mode. Let's switch back to dark mode. And yeah, just like that, dark mode works. Now let's see if the chatbot actually works. And there's even a loading bar right here, so really cool. And yeah, it actually works. So this is the results right here. So as of late, Mr. Beast has 307 million subscribers. Now, one thing to mention is that it seems like this is not using Google search. No, that's like an additional option that you can ask the AI to add for you. But typically when you're implementing an AI, if you wanted to get like the most up-to-date information, you'd add like a special parameter where it can use Google search. And when you ask it something like this, like how many subscribers Mr. Beast have, instead of relying on its database that it's scraped, it will go to Google and get the real up-to-date information. But in this case, I didn't ask the AI to add any Google search or anything, so it's only relying on its database for stuff like this. But yeah, right here as you can see, we have a fully functional chatbot, and I did this with just one prompt. Now typically if you're building like an actual app with this, you want to use like multiple prompts and implement the function step by step. That way you would get the best results. But just because I want to keep this short, I only did like one prompt and one shot everything. But even with one shot, as you can see, the result is still pretty good. Okay, so I asked it like what is recursion in computer science, and this right here is the explanation. And yeah, it gave you everything. So for example, one thing you could build with this is like I don't know if you guys know this AI called like Goth, which is basically a math AI chatbot. So if you wanted to build something like that, then this is how you would do it. As you can see, this is explaining like what is recursion. For those of you who do computer science, you know what that is, but yeah, it's explaining recursion and so on. So you could be like a AI chatbot that does computer science stuff, does math stuff. Now at this point, you can add more features to it. So you can add your profile, your backend, like a database. Now for the database, you use something like Supabase, which is really cool. I've used it before. It's fairly easy to set up and so on. So you implement Supabase, and you can also use Supabase for authentication, so set up profile and stuff like that. No, I'm not gonna do that stuff right now. Reason being is that if I were to sit down here and implement all that stuff, then this would be a few hours long, and I don't think you guys want to see that, so I'm not gonna do that right now. This is supposed to be a short video, but if you want to see that stuff where I'll be like a full app with the full backend system and everything with actual features and all of that stuff, then let me know and I'll make like a longer video, which again would be like, I don't know, like 4 or 6 hours long. But yeah, this is how you would implement something like this. Let me know if you have any questions and so on. Now, one last thing I want to show you is how would you turn this into an APK. Now, that's very simple, because remember earlier I was saying that with React Native, like building an APK takes a ton of time. Now, with Flutter, it's extremely simple. Then you click on this one and you want to scroll down. But yeah, this is the command right here, Flutter build APK. Even if you want, you could ask ChatGPT to give you these commands. You don't have to go to the documentation. But I just want to show you how easy it is to just do this stuff on your own. Like, that's how easy it is to do this with Flutter compared to like React Native. Now let's run this command. Okay, and that's it. It's done. It took like, I don't know, like 30 seconds to make to build the APK. And it's in this folder right here, so let me show you. So I believe it's right here. Yes, this is the APK right here. You can just send this to your device and install it. And you can test it and so on. And that's literally it, like you're done. There's no errors about packages and dependencies or any of that nonsense. You don't have to worry about building on a server that takes like an hour long or anything. Like everything just runs on your device and finishes in like, less than a minute. And that's literally it. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know.